X grew up on late-night warnings.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Scared, straight.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
And were inspired by movies that defined a generation.
We were all pretty bizarre. Some of us are just better at hiding it, that's all.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
I feel the need for speed.
We found our attitude in comedy.
I'm Gumby, damn it.
You see that sign?
No shirt, no shoes.
No dice.
Right. Learn it. Know it. Live it.
And our identity in pop culture.
I want my MTV!
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
Who talking about, Willis?
Keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
This is Gen X Men with Bill Rowland and Gary Dollarhide.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
All right, welcome in, everyone. Episode number 11 of Gen X Men. Bill Rowland here, Gary Dollarhide there. Pleasure as always, Gary. Hope Thanksgiving was well. Hope you got everything that you wanted to eat, all that good stuff. How was it?
It was great. We, I guess it's more of a New England tradition. The town itself that you live in, a lot of them put on the free Thanksgiving meal. So you go to town hall. The town usually supplies the turkeys and hams, and everyone else brings a side item. So it is a huge buffet of anything you'd ever want to eat, some things you didn't know existed. So yeah, it was great. You go there, there's no cleanup. You just show up, eat, leave. So
What was the
meet
side
some
that
neighbors.
you brought? What did you guys contribute?
We contributed stuffed celery, some sausage balls, and barbecue sauce. Those were the two things we brought in.
All right.
Yeah.
How do you
and skewers. So you cut the celery, the celery stalk is naturally like a U.
Yeah.
And there's a cream cheese with chives and other mixtures that she makes. And you just
slather in.
You slather it in there. And, and you cut the celery into like 3-inch pieces. So it's not like this long stalk, which I thought would be cool, but I was overruled. So, yeah.
All right. Sounds amazing.
But all sorts of pies and just, tables upon tables of side items. So you get to choose what you want and try different things. And, you show up, eat, and leave. So it's pretty fantastic.
Nothing wrong with that. That sounds like a good Thanksgiving then. So
how about yours?
We got, like I said, I got back, we recorded it last week on Thanksgiving, I think.
Yes.
So it was fine. I got back from Florida as we talked about last week. And didn't really do much after that. I worked outside in the yard.
Oh, leaf duty still?
Yeah, still. And there's still, but looking out the window now, they're mostly all on the ground. So I can hopefully finish this up in the next couple of weeks. The problem is we've had rain. Again, not that anybody cares about the weather, but that means you can't do leaf work when the leaves are wet because it's pointless. It just gunks up your leaf vacuum thing, whatever, my Toro that I use. But anyway, so there was that. But it reminded me, and you sent this to me, and I thought it was a nice tie-in because, of course, right around this time of the year, no matter what, you're always going to be looking at, like, I went and got my hair cut the other day, for example, and was talking to the lady, and it was, I guess, Monday this week or Tuesday, whatever day it was. And going there, I'm sitting in the chair, and she goes, "This is going to be the next 3-4 weeks for us." A Hallmark Channel is on with all the, the Christmas, whatever they're doing. It's like the 30 days of Christmas. She's like, every day, she's like, it's just going to be nothing but Christmas movies. I was like, yeah, I said, I usually don't really care about, because we talked about, comfort watching last week. That was one of the things we talked about. I'm like, I'm usually not somebody that's going to go back and be like, oh, I want to watch this, but I will do it for like the holiday cartoons and stuff. Absolutely. Like the Charlie Brown Thanksgivings and that. I will definitely go and do that. However, It's going to feel a little bit different after you sent me this link the other day. This was pretty funny. I have to give credit, and we'll go ahead. I'm going to share it up here on the screen. This is a guy, and neither one of us are on TikTok, so it took a little bit of finding. You found it and sent it to me. I had to yank it from the guy who was on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter at Bill Rowland, I reposted it there. But this is actually pretty funny. Somebody did a thing of what it would be like if Charlie Brown and company were like 50 years later.
The update. Where
Charlie
are they
Brown
now?
Charlie Brown Goes Home Christmas Special, rated R. So yes, please be careful if you play this at home or whatever it is. But we'll just a quick little snippet. And again, I'll run before I start this. Let me run the banner for you guys on the bottom, so you'll be able to see if you want to find the guy who did it. There it is right there, the TikTok at Duke Pringles, and then just search for this video. But we'll give you a little taste of it right here.
Charlie Brown? Holy hell! The old blockhead comes back from the big city.
Hey, Lucy, how are you?
I've got the double D's. Divorced and diabetic.
Oh, okay.
Boring adult stuff. Wah, 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 wah,
Yeah.
wah,
Wah, wah, wah, wah.
I mean, this is clearly AI, right? I mean,
I
don't think somebody
would
did
assume.
this.
Yeah. But this is the part I love. It's just like, depressing in town, eating slice of pizza.
Charlie?
Oh.
Hey, Linus. Wow. How you been? I don't know. Can't tell anymore. Can I come in? No.
The bodies are still here.
Okay. Then I guess I'm gonna go. See ya, Charlie Brown. I'm gonna hang myself with this. What's new with you guys, huh?
Stop
Not much,
playing.
Chuck. We gave each other HPV. Actually, sir, you gave it to me.
Wow.
Get away! I'll call the cops, Mr. Charlie.
Pigpen, since it froze, people were
Yeah, go ahead. We'll pull it down.
Good grief.
But yeah, let me go over here and turn it since it froze. But I mean, it's done pretty well, and it ends with Lucy asking him to kick the football again, and he ends up taking it from her and bashing her over the head with it, and basically saying "F you, F this, F all you people." It's well done. It's 2 minutes, worth your time. Go check it out because again, I saw that and I was like, this is pretty funny. I wish they hadn't had made like Linus this loner. That just doesn't ring. The Lucy thing kind of rings true, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you'd be like, all right, I could see. I mean, Lucy was kind of a pain in the ass. I could see why she would end up divorced or whatever. But Linus, I don't. Did you take Linus for being a complete shut-in loner? 50 years down the road?
Not particularly, and I think that's because.
Shut that damn dog up. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
know. I'm sorry about that. He's with me in the room today, and he's unhappy about someone outside.
That's all right. What's the dog's name?
That's Trooper.
Trooper. We love Trooper. Can we get a shot at Trooper, or will he not
Trooper.
come over to you?
Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here.
I think we've seen Trooper before.
Yeah.
When you were outside the one episode.
Yeah. He's being a little camera shy right now.
All right, that's
he's
fine.
Worried about finding places.
That's Trooper. We love dogs on this show, so it's not bothering me any. I don't care.
Come here, buddy. No, you're going to stay down there. Okay, he's just going to sit beside down.
That's fine.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, I didn't take Linus for being a complete loner, and they kind of make it seem like he's a serial killer because he says the bodies are still here.
They're still here,
or he's just gone psychotic.
Yeah, I think if you were designing, I think that's the one they had to go with because oddly to me, where was Schroeder? Because he would have been at the piano in the bar, right?
That's what they should have done. Yes.
Right. So who's going to play the serial killer? Pigpen character, but not big enough.
Right.
And just have him homeless in the car.
They had Pigpen in his car. They had him homeless in his car. Yeah.
Yeah. and then Peppermint Patty and what is that? Marcia, I think that's her name.
Marcy. Is it
Marcy
or Marsha?
I think it's Marcy. Yes.
Yeah.
That one played out exactly the way.
Exactly.
After you think about it, it's like, oh, that one makes sense.
Yeah.
So who's left to be the weird serial killer? I guess it's Linus.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're gonna make,
you just had to assign him a role, right?
I guess. I mean, they didn't have Franklin in it at all.
Yeah.
Which is a little disappointing. I was hoping we'd see Franklin.
And,
they had
sister.
Sally.
Sally.
No Sally sighting at all.
Unless she was one of the bodies.
I was going to say, unless she was one. I have to go back and watch and see if there are clues in the background that maybe Sally was in the room there with Linus, one of the bodies. And of course, they had a tombstone for poor Snoopy. It's had 120 dog years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty well done. Probably AI. I mean, I'm assuming. I don't think somebody went and drew not for 2 minutes of that, but
yeah.
But it was again, it made me chuckle because there are some of those shows that you sit there and go, gee, I wonder whatever happened, or how would they play this out? I don't sit there and wonder, okay, what would have happened to all these people in this necessarily sitcom or whatever, but it's always interesting to say, okay, how would this have played out? Because of course, as all cartoons, South Park, The Simpsons, et cetera, they never age.
Correct.
They never get older. They never advance. So it works because that's why you can do all the stupid stuff with Kenny dying every week in South Park and that because, well, we already know they're not real, but they're never going to age. So it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Peanuts would have been an interesting one to see them actually age.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting to me if somebody had tried to do that. Like legit, not be funny like this one was, but like legit, like, okay, let's write their stories and go from there.
Yeah, because the dark side of that, even though it was funny, was no one had a good outcome.
Right.
It was just negative across the board. I mean, one could argue, I guess Snoopy had the positive outcome, but
except he ended up dead. But yes,
you didn't feel good for any of them. It was what I looked at and said, well, is that a Gen X attitude where we're all just, get off my lawn and old and crotchety now? But there's also a reality to what those endings were. So,
but the thing is, the Peanuts would be boomers.
Yes,
because they were young kids in the 50s. So
correct.
They're more of the boomers than Gen X. Now, it's probably a Gen X person that did this.
Yeah.
Again, as you mentioned, it with being that dark and everything, but the kids themselves would be boomers at this point.
Be 70.
Yeah, easily. Easily.
So we didn't want to do the nursing home angles for all of them. So
I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how old they're necessarily supposed to be. I mean, they did the wrinkles. It was hard to see with showing the video with the screen sharing, but they did the whole thing with the wrinkles and everything else. And I give Charlie credit. He wasn't fat anymore.
No, he wasn't.
He's a little round-headed fat kid when in the originals.
Yeah, he toned down. Maybe went keto. And then I laughed. Same thing. I looked at it and said, initially looking at Charlie, I said, wow. That is probably what he would look like, 30, 40 years later. That was the first thing that got me. And then Lucy, same thing. She said she's diabetic and divorced.
Right.
Well, if you look at her, again, if you can see the video close up, they rounded her out. And she does look like a middle-aged woman who's put on the extra pounds. And so, they did, Linus looked a little beat up too. So, they really did age the characters appropriately for this, and it just made it that much funnier to me.
Yeah, it was well done, and again, is it a laugh riot? No, but you get a little chuckle out of it. So yeah, if you get a chance, go ahead, check it out, search it again at Duke Pringles. Put an S on the end of it. His video page. I have no idea. I'm going to put this caveat out there. I have no idea what else this guy is into. I have no idea of his political leanings one way or the other. No clue. I have not. we found it from somebody else
We
on
just found
X.
it. Yep.
We did not. It's not somebody that we follow and endorse at all. But I will say, if he's the one that created it, nice job. If he just picked it up and is passing it on, again, nice job. It made me chuckle for the mere moment. So, one of the things that it also got me thinking about on Thanksgiving, we're beyond the age now, obviously, of Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving. I don't know, because you grew up in a smaller town, so it might have been a little bit different for you. But when I was in college, and even maybe a little bit out of college, the day before Thanksgiving was usually the night that you went out and ran into all your old buddies from high school. You kind of had the same, everybody kind of knew the same couple of bars. For us, it was down in Old Town Alexandria that, hey, if we go to the penalty box, if we go to, at that point, it was Ireland's Own, if you go to the fish market, you knew you would run into people that you either went to high school with or at the same time, but they were at another school, but you knew them, you knew you'd run into people. I don't know. And this could even be say the same thing like when you were in high school and you went to the mall on a Friday or Saturday night, you knew you'd run into people. I don't know if that's still going on anymore with the way social media and everything else. Are college kids today coming home and then heading out to the local bar to find their friends, or is that just not a thing anymore?
Well, that's a good question. For me, you're right. I grew up in rural county. We didn't even have towns. And as you know, since we both went to Mason, my goal was to spend as little time at home over those holidays. I'd stay in Northern Virginia as best I could.
Right.
So going home to find friends did not happen. Now, I think I remember stories people would get together, but not that many of us went to college. So everyone was still kind of there in the county.
Okay.
And it's for those, there was a lot of intermingling of the families. Again, rural America, everyone's a cousin to somebody. It was big family times. Now, today, I don't know, because I think the nature of hanging out has completely changed from when we were, and I'm talking teenagers, high school.
Sure.
It was a thing to go to the mall. It was a thing to, after school, I remember we would go, there was a place called the Dead End. It was just a cul-de-sac that they didn't finish the little subdivision. Yeah, right. So you go there and hang out because there's no one else around, or sometimes there's a lot of things going on after school. And from there, that was the congregation points within the town, if you will, because there was no malls, there was no store. We had gas stations, so you would have to go to Richmond and other places to hit the malls to find other people. But it wasn't as if we were all going together to those places. So it's definitely a different dynamic than, say, you in Northern Virginia, where, hey, we're all doing this because Springfield Mall is right down the street.
Right. And it was Springfield. If you lived in the western end of the county, it was Fair Oaks. Landmark Mall was a big one if you were like more of City of Alexandria type stuff. Of course, Old Town, everybody went down. Even it's high school kids, you would go down to Old Town and hang out. This is before they had the Torpedo Factory turned into an art museum and all the docks, everything that are down there now. If you're in Northern Virginia now and you didn't grow up here and you go to Old Town, you're probably thinking, well, where are the high school kids going to hang out? Trust me, that whole spot down by the water, if you went, I guess it would be north of King Street towards like the airport, that was a shady part of Old Town at that point. Like, there's nothing built there. I mean, you could hang out and we would have our beers and everything else going on, and you could hear if the cops were coming, so you could easily stash them, or unfortunately, a few cans probably got tossed into the Potomac. But that wasn't built up like it is these days. But that was the thing. Like, I even think about it because, again, we both went to Mason, and Mason basketball is off to a great start right now. As we're recording this, they're 9-0. They got a game Saturday against Virginia Tech down there. But I was a little disappointed in the students, they just played JMU last Saturday. That was a decent crowd because, of course, the old rivalry. But you play Cornell on Tuesday, and I know Cornell's not a big name, but you're off to the best start ever in school history, and you still didn't have a lot of students there. And it just made me realize and think, like, they don't need the basketball games like we did. Like when we were in school, look, the team stunk. They were terrible after our first year. First year, I think they made it to the conference finals. And then after that, I think they went 14-16 the next year and then won 7 games and then 7. I mean, they were terrible.
Yeah.
But the student section was usually pretty full because if you didn't go to the game, you didn't know where everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
That was the way to find out what was going on that night, that weekend, whatever it was. I kind of feel, and this isn't me shaking my fist and yelling at the cloud and saying, get off my lawn. This is me actually feeling bad for this generation because they've got it way easier with all the things that they have, AI and compute. We didn't have any of that kind of stuff, all the things. And the ability to just pick up again, grab your phone, and I can get a hold of anybody instantaneously, no matter where they are. We didn't have that.
No.
And I feel bad for them because I feel like their entire sense of community it's not going to be something that they have. They're not gonna have that whole sense of, yeah, you used to just show up on a Saturday afternoon for a 4:00 tip time to figure out where everybody was going that night. Because if you didn't, odds were you weren't going to know.
Yeah. I saw a little bit of my son, and I think everything changed so much. So maybe it was a little different in Northern Virginia for you growing up. If you did sports, you did one sport. You did it through the school. You know, your parents weren't helicoptering you around.
Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest changes, because I remember seeing this when I coached Little League baseball when I was back in Northern Virginia. These kids, it was like a CEO schedule. Well, Tuesday night is this, and Wednesday night is that, and Thursday night is that. I didn't have any of that growing up.
Right.
I mean, even playing sports in high school, yeah, you had practice every day, but there wasn't all these other things continuously happen. And so kids have lost time by being, and blame it on the parents, I guess you will, that, oh, we've got to give them this. They've got to be involved in that. And there were certain things we didn't have. Volunteer hours for your college. They were busy. And I saw it with my son, the same thing. There was always something. There were scouts, there was this, there was that. And yes, there was socialization within those realms, but it wasn't natural. It wasn't, hey, we're going to go hang out and just waste 4 hours like I used to do. And so that's changed. And then COVID, I think, made it worse. Again, he talked to his friends online, and their hangout was playing Fortnite and all the other games online. But they play for 6 or 8 hours.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, right? That was their engagement with their friends. They just weren't physically together. And now, half his friends are in college, half are working, and they just don't have that cohesiveness like we'd see in times past. I said, hey, is your friends coming home? Yeah. Do you know when? No. Are you going to hang out? I don't know. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I guess that's just how it is nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel bad that
Yeah.
they just don't have that connection like we had. Because I remember, we laugh, but you and I, we had pagers, and we were early adopters. And hey, where are you going to be? What are you doing? And all the time we spent, figuring out where people were and congregating. We put people together. Hey, we're going here. Do you guys want to go?
Right.
We did a lot of that social planning that does not seem to exist anymore. And yeah, I do feel bad for them for not having that.
I mean, a perfect example, and I think you were on this trip with us, maybe, was going to Myrtle Beach. And now, because that was a big thing at the end of every spring semester, everybody from Mason, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people would go to Myrtle Beach for the week. That was your beach week. And I remember our mutual buddy, Chris Jolly, lived in Richmond at the time. He had gone home after exams and was going to go to Myrtle Beach. And we because again, safer, we're going to caravan down there.
Yeah.
But how are you going to find Chris Jolly on not, without having to get off 95, which we didn't want to do because he was a good half hour. It's like, that's an hour out of the way, the half hour to his house, half hour back to 95. So I remember we called him. We left in the middle of the night. We left at like midnight to get down there early. We called him and said, we're leaving my house in Fairfax County, Alexandria. Figure about an hour and 20 minutes to get to Richmond. He had a walkie-talkie. Do you remember this?
I remember a trip with headsets.
Yes. That's
So
what we had, the headsets,
yes.
but they were basically walkie-talkies.
Walkie-talkies, right?
So he
It
took
kept
one
clicking
with,
in.
yes, he took one with him before he went home to Richmond. So he had one. We had the other one in our car. We basically said, okay, where are you going to be parked? We will look for you. He got on. This is so dumb and unsafe, but it worked. He got to 95 and, basically was sitting on the side of 95 in his, I think he had a red Jetta, if I remember right.
Jetta, yeah.
Yeah. And we're driving and we get to the exit where he's supposed to be, and we're all in the car and we're like, okay, keep a lookout because when we see him, we got to let him know. And like, again, walkie-talkies don't have big, long range.
No.
But like within a half mile, you could suddenly hear him. So literally you had about 30 seconds to be like, hey, man, are you there? Yeah, I'm parked. Okay, well, we're coming up to the exit. And then it was like, hey, that's him. And we were like, go, go, go. And you just see his car. He took off in his Jetta and caught up to us. That's how we carpooled down to Myrtle Beach, was just finding him on the side of the road that we had set up an hour beforehand. There was no texting and being like, okay, we're at mile marker 150. The GPS, there was no GPS. You had a map. GPS says we'll be there in 12 and a half minutes. No, but that was way more fun than being like, okay, well, the GPS says we'll be here at 1:16. So make sure you're at this exit at
that time.
It was just, that's just how you did it. And then, I mean, again, not really safe, but if you remember, I think we had 3 cars. And at one point we're like, let's just drive 55 across all 3 lanes and just slow traffic.
Slow traffic. I remember that.
Do it. Just because, you know what? We're not speeding. We're just going to drive 55. So we did that for a few miles just to see how much we could. I mean, just dumb stuff, but they don't have any of that experience. Probably one of them would be like, I'm at the beach. Okay, well, I'll sit here. Just point your phone camera out there and I'll pretend that I'm at the beach with you. Like, I just don't get, I feel, again, I go back, this is not complaining about that generation at all. I feel bad for them. They won't have any of these experiences. And the other thing is, because they have these phones and they can record everything and take pictures of everything and everything else, and everything is permanent now, nothing comes off the internet, they can't get away with anything.
Nope. They got more dirt on themselves.
Yes, the stuff that we got away with and nobody talks about anymore, or you talk about it in a whisper, but there's really no evidence of. Tons of stuff that went on. Myrtle Beach weeks, at school in general, when you were in high school, none of that is video recorded. We would have been in so much trouble for some of the stuff that we had done.
I told my son, so because we went to a small rural school, we actually still had the tradition of the senior trip.
Oh, so there you go. Yeah.
High school senior trip, because the rest of the grades were taking the standard, I can't remember what they call them now. SOLs or whatever.
Standards of learning. Yep. It was SOL.
So so they took the seniors away for a week because there was only 94 of us.
Right.
So two buses and a bunch of teachers, and we head to Florida. And some of the things that went on, and I'm not saying that anyone should be arrested, but it was just crazy, some of the stuff we were doing. If it existed in video, oh my goodness, for so many people. But it's just now just legendary stories where you get to say, remember that time? I tell my son, and first he's flabbergasted. What do you mean a senior class trip? Sponsored by the school. Yep, that happened. And I told him all the things that happened, Disney World, and he's just, I don't get it. And I think part of it, we touched on this a few weeks ago, they live in a world of check boxes.
Right.
If you want to do things right, check the box. You stay in the box, color inside the lines. we didn't have that. And I think that's where we would wing things, like you just said. We'll just meet you down there, have your walkie-talkie on. We just wing it. We'll figure it out. And I think that has been taken away from them. There's no more just figure it out. It's you have to do this, you have to do that. And if you don't do it that way, you're somehow considered like, I think if you get outside the box nowadays, you are considered way more shunned by society. Like society wants you to be in that box and you better be in the box. And I think that is what it has turned into for them. And like you said, I feel sorry because they lose out on some of the spontaneity, just things happen, and great stories. Yeah. So,
I mean, again, we know communication has changed entirely with cell phones and everything else. But again, I go back to the idea of, like, if you wanted to track somebody down in college, when we were in school, and you didn't have, and they didn't live at home, right? So you couldn't call their house and talk to mom or dad and be like, hey, can you let Jen, Sarah, or Rick, whoever it was, let them know that, you know, we're going to be here at this time and we need to catch up with them or whatever. You had no way of finding them. There was no, I mean, you couldn't track them down. There was no, you know, of like, oh, I'll just hit them up on, you know, on X, or I'll hit them up on Snapchat, or I'll hit them whatever, with TikTok or whatever. I'll just IM them. There wasn't any of that. We had files, little file cabinets for the fraternities. I think we had them over at the radio station too, if I remember. But the Greek system, you had file cabinets. Every fraternity and sorority had a file cabinet drawer. And inside that file cabinet were envelopes, or not envelopes, but folders with your name on it. If somebody wanted to drop, I mean, I can remember I was a social chair for our fraternity one semester. If I wanted to talk to the social chair from a sorority and I didn't know the girl, I didn't have her number. Instead of trying to reach this person, reach this person, reach this person to get her phone number, I just wrote a note, dropped it in the file, waited for her to get back to me. That's how it worked. I mean, like, you were just at that mercy of, if you didn't have a phone number, you were stuck. And even then, if you're like, oh, this phone number, oh, I can tell she doesn't live on campus, so that means I'm going to have to talk to mom or dad or brother or whoever. I'm like, I don't want to have to do that, right? You don't want to have to call and be like, oh, hello, Mr. Johnson. Yes, is Kathy at home? You're not going to do that. You just didn't want to do that. So, yeah, you have to literally have to write a note, go to the file, search for her name, drop it in. I mean, it was crazy. I think about that now. I'm like, how did we ever find people? But yet we always did. I never felt like I would be sitting at home on a Friday or Saturday night on a weekend. And again, I lived at home. I wasn't even on campus. But I never felt like
you stayed with us a lot in the dorm.
Well, I did. That's true. I did sleep on the floor underneath the beds when you guys raised them up. That is true. I had a lot of friends that I slept on a lot of couches. But I never felt like I'm going to be stuck. Like, I don't know what's going on. And had nothing to do with having instant access with your phone or everything else. It's just you knew how to stay in touch and informed. If you wanted to, you figured out how to do it.
Well, and you know, similar, you guys had that in the Greek system. What did we have in the dorms? A dry erase board on your door.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So you know, if you stop by, because that's how you went to physically go find someone usually. Yep. Oh, she's not in. I'll leave her a note. Let's catch up. Maybe it says, see you at the dining hall, whatever, the dry erase board. But I think that was, we pre-planned a lot. There's a lot of, we would physically go find and have ideas going forward, like, hey, later today, XYZ, you up for that? And social, it just personal one-on-one engagement. So when you got to someone, you laid out plans. Hey, I'm talking to you now. We're thinking about this at 6. We're thinking about this at 10. Maybe we'll see you there. Maybe we won't. I don't think they do that. They just don't have that interpersonal communication anymore. And again, these are just observances from my son and some of the stepkids I have. They just live in a different realm because everything's so immediate with those phones, right? Like you said, they never have to worry. They're always sending messages. They're always keeping track of each other, and they just don't have that. We'll wing it. We'll pre-plan it. they don't think outside the box. Now, more interesting, which, spreads to that, dating. See,
It's non-existent now, right?
it's non-existent. But think about it. Back in the days when high school, college for us, when you met someone, you only knew what they were telling you at that moment till you got to know them.
Fair.
If I meet someone today from a few years ago, let's do a little Facebook stalking. Let's do a little internet search. And now all of a sudden I've got this whole picture of someone before I even go out on a date with them. So that's to me an interesting change that happened over time, because back then it was, you didn't know. Let's just be right. I didn't know how crazy she was until we went out on 4 or 5 dates and then figured it out. Right.
That's
if
fair.
you go online now, I tell my son, if you see too many selfies with filters, run. You do not want any part of that, because that seems crazy. So yeah.
Well, I guess for my thing is, look, I was out of the dating realm from 2005 until 2021 for like 16 years. So I kind of missed all of that type of thing. And not being on Facebook, I don't remember, like, my fiance now, I don't remember stalking, like, not stalking, but even like doing a search. It was just kind of like, all right, well, she seems nice. Let's see what happens. And it kind of went from there. Like, I knew where she worked because it was in actually having a phone conversation, which a lot of people weren't doing anymore. That was one of the things. I mean, she talks about it. She's like, yeah, it was easy because you actually wanted to talk on the phone. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to text somebody that I'm trying to like date, like to go out with. Like, maybe I'll text and be like, hey, something changed. Do you want to go, get together Friday instead? I mean, that kind of stuff. Okay, fine. But like, when you're first, like, I'm not going to ask you out over the app. I'm going to be like, hey, let's chat, whatever. And then I'm going to actually ask you out, like, in person, if you will, on the phone. I'm not going to do it via text messages through Tinder, or I don't know what the other ones are, Match or whatever it was, Bumble, all that stuff. Like, that's taken away from it. And that's the one thing that I think, and I don't know, again, I don't know if your son even cares about dating, because it seems like a lot of that generation doesn't, which is flabbergasting to me.
Yeah.
But like, the advice that I would give any guy now, high school, college, just out of college, have a conversation. Forget the text. Put the phone down, other than if you're going to call them and talk to them. Don't do the texting. I know everybody wants that. I guarantee you will have a better conversation. You will get to know somebody a lot easier if you actually are speaking
to them
over the phone, or even better, face to face. Like, and when you go on that date or whatever, don't do it in a group, maybe a first date or whatever, but really, you don't want to do that. And put your damn phone away when you're sitting there at dinner doing whatever. I'm serious. Like, it's so funny to me. Carrie and I will go out to dinner sometimes, and you hear stuff in a restaurant, and you're like, that's a first date. Or you just know that they haven't been together for that long. And I always look and I'm like, that dude needs to put his phone away. Like, he's blowing it right now, because he'll be talking to her. Yeah. And then you'll see him, like, head down and scrolling through things. And it's like, put the fucking phone down.
I cannot comprehend that. Do we have phones? Yes. But even when Susan and I go out, half the time I don't even take my phone in. It's just not a part of us having dinner.
Right.
Right. And so when I see that, first date or not, it drives me nuts to watch people with another person scrolling on their phones. And it's just, and that, like you said, it's problematic of getting to know someone, first date or not. It's just respectful. But yeah, these phones are a problem. Let's just say that. Like, they're a tool, but they are consuming of time.
I just laugh. You see, and again, I'm not on Facebook, but I've seen like, Instagram or other places where people are posting, and it's a lot of people our age that are posting like pictures like, oh, family time at Thanksgiving. And without fail, if there's a picture of like 8 people all sitting around, half of them are not looking at the camera. They're looking down
Mm-hmm.
at the phone that they have in their hand. It's like, be with the people that you're there with. That I think that's the other thing that when we were growing up, even if you didn't want to be hanging out with your relatives or whoever it was at Thanksgiving or Christmas, you really didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
What were you going to do to ignore them other than watch TV or go to your room? And that's just rude. And that's no fun either. I mean, again, I guess now they have the video games. They can be talking to their friends or whatever. But like, you didn't have a choice but to sit there and listen to your crazy uncle talk about stories, and I guess we're the crazy uncles now, whatever you want to say. But like, you didn't have a choice. You couldn't stare into the abyss of your phone. You had to be there in the moment. And in some ways, I think that was a good thing for us that we didn't have a choice.
It's definitely a socialization education that they're missing out on, because you're right. You're there. We were in our 20s, let's say, we're bored, there's relatives. Okay. You just had to suffer through it and figure a way out, right? Now they don't have to do that. So what happens now if you're at an uncomfortable work situation, right? You don't want to be at the meeting. There's people you don't like, but it's your job. You can't just sit there and scroll on your phone. You've got to figure a way to get through these moments, these times and situations. And I think that's a failed aspect of their socialization process. And like I said, I know part of it, my son, his age group, was COVID, because they spent that year and a half being told, stay away.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So it just exacerbated, I think, the problems, pushed them further onto the phones, pushed them further into technology. And it just changed that social dynamic one-on-one.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question and I still say, I think, your son is definitely a part of that, and some of the older ones, I think the kids that are really got screwed up by that year and a half, 2 years, especially of not being in school, are the kids that were 6 or 7 years old at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're just almost teenagers. I think those are the kids that are really going to be messed up when it comes down to it, because again, the high school kids had problems with it. Junior high kids, I get all that stuff. But when you're 5, 6, 7 years old, when you're in school, yes, learn your math, learn to write, read, whatever it is. But you know what else you're learning? When you're out on the playground, and you're trying to figure out and weave your way through, okay, are we playing kickball? Okay, what are the rules? Can you spin the ball? No bounties? We all remember those. You had all those different rules, right?
Yeah.
And what you were really learning was how to negotiate with people, how to come to an agreement. Okay, we both want to play this. We both want to have this game and have this fun. But what are the generally accepted rules? And how do we get to that? Now, no one was telling us that that's what we were doing. Nobody was sitting there explaining, oh, you're learning negotiation skills. Oh, you're learning how to, but you figured things out, and you figured them out without an adult telling you, yes, you're right, no bounties this game, whatever it was. So they missed all of that. They missed how to interact, how to get along with other people, how to be in a social situation, say, okay, you know what, I'll give in on this, but you need to give all of that gone for them. And that's the time that you learn it, is out there on the playground. And I think that's why they're going to be the ones that are even worse off as they get older and older. Just that skill is not there for them.
Yeah. And I'll go beyond the playground. For us, I grew up, again, rural county, but I happened to live on one of the roads where there was probably 12 of us in between, within 4 or 5 years of each other. So there's brothers, sisters, same age groups. And that was our playground outside of school. It was kickball, riding bikes. We were a little bit more free range living out in the country, but those were always the things. What are the rules? Like, we learned it outside of school as well. I see kids today living in much closer neighborhoods than I ever did. They're all inside. They're all on their game, right? They're not outside kind of doing those things together. Like you said, these are the rules. We do this, we do that. If we're playing one pump BB gun and you pumped it up 3 times and I felt the difference, I came after you for it, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Rules of social engagement. So I don't think school, they're not even getting it at home, because they just don't go out and play like we used to.
Right.
And like I said, free range, if you will, because I remember in the summer, my mother, after breakfast, get out, don't go too far, listen for when
Right.
I call you.
Right.
Gone till lunch, come home, eat lunch, then you're back out again. She didn't know where we were half the time because we had woods and we had lots of roads to ride our bike. We were just gone.
Right.
Nowadays, they probably throw them in jail for doing that because you just can't. What do you mean you let your 11, 12-year-old be gone for 3 or 4 hours? I just, but even my mom would tell me back in the day when she was that same age, she would get on a bus in Knoxville, Tennessee to go downtown to watch Elvis movies. That was just what you did, right? And she would take her younger sisters with her. You couldn't do that nowadays. They called Child Protective Services.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and maybe some people will say, no, it's not true if you look at the statistics, but I think it was safer. I think it was safer to do all that stuff when we were younger kids.
Yeah.
I think it just, I mean, there were obviously kidnappers and everything else, but I don't think it was as prevalent because the people now that are doing this stuff are doing it by, again, kind of getting to these kids through social media. They know where the kids are going to be because kids are dumb and will, put stuff on about where they're going to be and stuff. You didn't have that. And I think also we were more afraid of strangers because we weren't going to get into an Uber with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're, say, 12 years old and mom gets stuck at work, she'll just say, okay, hit the little Uber thing on your phone and, have somebody come pick you up. Like that, you never would have done that when we were kids. There is no way you would have done that. But yeah, I'm with you. Like I can remember having, high school baseball practice over spring break when it wasn't after school, it was actually during the day. And this would have been my sophomore year. So I didn't have a driver's license yet. Well, guess what? My mom and dad worked. My sister was away at college. None of my friends could pick me up. They weren't able to drive either. So you know what I did? I rode my bike 4 miles to go to baseball practice and then got back on it and rode it home after practice. I mean, that's just like, it's like, hey, you got to figure it out. How are you going to get to practice? Figure it out. And I said, I'll just ride my bike. And my mom was like, that's a long way. And I'm like, it's not that bad. It'll be fine. Just left an hour before I needed to get there. Got there in plenty of time. So,
yeah. And what's odd is my son, the town he grew up here in Maine, a lot of kids did do that.
Yeah.
Because all the schools were in town. Probably no one was over 3 or 4 miles from the school. There was plenty of times he rode his bike to school. Kids walked home. So to me, that was kind of odd because I lived in rural Virginia and everyone was bused.
Right.
That was just it. And so to see that where, I knew the police were on higher patrols during those school hours, knowing that some kids walked and everything. So I thought that was good for them and different. But you just, other than in town-based, you wouldn't see that. Like, yep, just go on your bike and ride 4 miles and you're okay. Right. A lot of parents would be like you said, nope, you're not going to do that. We're going to put you in the Uber and send you, or figure out, taking kids to and from school. That's a new one for me too. Like the drop off line, that didn't happen a lot.
No,
where I grew up. So why all of a sudden it's, you live half mile, they can't walk. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. If it's pouring down rain, or if it's freezing cold in the wind, then okay, I get it. I wouldn't want to do that
I don't know. Our grandparents walked uphill both ways in the snow. So
exactly.
It can't be done.
But you talked about it. I mean, I can remember, with my ex and her 2 younger kids, if they would be like, I'm bored, I'd always be like, I don't know how you're bored. You have everything that you'd ever want. But I'd always be like, well, walk up the street and knock on so-and-so's door, see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I can't do that. We didn't have a play date. And I'm like, play date? Go up there, knock on the door. There's your play date. Like, hey, do you want to hang out in the yard? Like, they were mortified at that idea of just showing up at someone's house and knocking on the door. Just like, they're like, well, they're not out in the yard, so they're obviously not. I'm like, maybe they're waiting for you to be out in the yard before they come out. Like, maybe they're looking out the window that's doing the same thing, going, well, they're not out, so I don't know that I should go over. No, just we used to do it all the time. Ride your bike, ring the doorbell. Well, the worst thing the parents are going to say is they're not here or they can't play. Okay,
Correct.
thanks. And then they're not going to be mad. Like, you just go, all right, thanks. But that's the thing. They're even going forward in high school. The kids talk about it now that I'm like, well, why don't you guys figure out, like the basketball team? I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like after practice on Saturday, are you guys getting together? And like, oh no, we didn't make plans ahead of time. I'm like, well, just go now. Like, practice is done. Go to lunch together. Yeah,
wing it. As that's what I say. We just wing it. Go do it.
And they're like, oh no, my mom, practice ends at say 11. My mom will be expecting me home by 11:20, or she'll think something's wrong. And I'm like, well, you have the ability now to text her. We didn't have that. We were just like, all right, well, practice is 9 to 11, and I don't know what's going on after that because I haven't talked to everybody yet. I'll talk to them at practice, so I'll be home when I'm home. And your parents be like, okay,
yeah, as long as it's reasonable, yeah,
right, yeah.
So
I don't get
it. Yeah, growing up, it was always, I guess, the understood we're all going to do something, right?
Right.
So everyone go home, do their homework, and then the first one out the door goes to the other kid's house. And then all of a sudden the grouping started happening depending on we're having dinner, we're doing homework, whatever.
Right.
But even on a random Saturday, just like you said, I'd ride down to the first house that had the 4 kids, and if none of them were available, I go to the next house that had the one, right? You just, hey, who's here? Who's around? You want to do something. It didn't matter the who, the what. It's just, hey, what are you up to? Okay, now we're going to do this. So you'd have all different groupings at various times, depending on who was available.
Right.
It was just accepted and understood. We'll go find each other and figure it out. And like I said, they just too structured is sometimes what I say about these newer generations of, well, I can't just go knock on the door. That would be awkward. Or, okay, if you don't want to knock on the door, how about you text them? Do you have their number?
Right.
Hey, what are you doing? Let's go meet out front. And
but then it would be throw your headsets on. We're going to play Fortnite. That's what it would end up being, which again, I still go back and I know we talked about it in a prior episode. It's way better to be in the room with people when you're playing video games with them than to do it on the headsets. I don't care. I know, hey, your buddy moved and is 2 states over. Okay, I get all that. But if you're friends and you're all within the same area of each other, you need to be in the same room because it's just way better. Way better.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you do it if you're all trying to play Fortnite because you all need your own Xbox or PlayStation, whatever it is. I don't know. Figure something out because it's way better to be in the same room and being able to talk trash than the way to do that now. So, all right. There's one other story I wanted to get to before we call it an episode here. Did you see in Mississippi the high school football team that lost on purpose so they could have a better chance at winning a state title? Now, that's going to seem not intuitive. What do you mean you're trying to lose? You have a better chance. Okay. So high school football team, this is the private school side of things in Mississippi. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the high school football team. Let me grab the name of it. They are playing in the Mid-South Association of Independent Schools. Okay.
Ooh.
I know. So Marshall Academy is the team we're talking about. They were 8-1 going into their matchup with also 8-1 Washington School. Okay. Well, in Mississippi, they have divided things into Division I, Division II. So the top 8 teams would all vie for the state title in Division I. And then the next 8 teams in their rankings, however they do it, would vie for a state title in Division II. So these 2 schools, Washington School and Marshall Academy, are both 8-1. Whoever wins this would go on, win their league, and go to the Division I state playoffs, which is going to be much, much harder, right? Because it's Division I. It's the top teams. Yep. And I guess the private school in Mississippi is just basically like filled with D1 prospects. Like they were going to crush everybody, right?
Okay.
So the coach of Marshall, Chris Brunio, comes up with a brilliant idea. We just won't win. We'll throw the game to Washington so that we can play down in the Division II, be like a top seed in Division II, and try to win a state championship that way. So what they did, they basically sat 13 of their best players, right?
Okay.
They were down 43-6 at halftime. And the only reason they scored, apparently, from people that talked about the game, is that one of the Washington defenders, I guess they threw some pass and the kid slipped and fell. And I guess the kid from Marshall didn't get the word that he was supposed to just fall down and not score. So he took it to the house. That was the only touchdown that they scored. So it's 43-6. Now, because it's, I think, more than 30 points, maybe, or whatever it was, 35. What do most high school, federations do now? Running clock.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So Washington has to kick off to Marshall for the second half. Marshall gets the kickoff, then lines up and stands there. And stands there. And stands there. Again, clock is running because it's running clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Delay a game. Move them back. Line up again. Stand there. Stand there. Stand there. Delay a game. Move them back. They did this repeatedly until they got all the way back to their own end zone, and the officials were like, look, you've taken delay game here. It's going to be a safety. And they went, good.
Yeah.
So they got a safety. Again, delay a game all the way back numerous times over and over again. So then what happens after you get a safety? You're supposed to kick the ball off to the other team.
Correct.
They refused to kick the ball off. So finally, the officials are like, you're making a travesty. Game's over. Done. Washington, you win. Marshall, you're not going to be in this. The game's over. So they basically end up fining this coach. Like the coach got a fine of like $1,000. The school got a fine of $7,500. And they basically said, doesn't matter that you're going to be a higher seed in this, Division II. You don't get a home playoff game.
Okay.
So basically, they're still in it, but they don't get the host. Is this the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard?
It is on multiple accounts. So I'm going to start with how. Okay. So I questioned this whole division thing, and okay, because I assume they're all the same, right?
They have divisions like in the state of Virginia. I know that the public schools are done by enrollment, which is how they do it at most. I mean, like Florida has like 7 or 8, I think, different, designations. They have 6A, 7A, whatever it is. I mean, Virginia has, you can win a state title in 1A all the way up to 6A is what it is.
Yeah, but that's based on student population.
Student population, correct.
Yeah, so I remember that, yeah.
There is in Virginia as well, the independent schools, there is a Division I, Division II. I don't know how they do that. I don't know if it's based on how you finished the year before, like a regulation thing, like they have in European soccer and other places, or if it's by enrollment. I'm not 100% sure how that works. So I know there are other places that do this, but it's already established at the beginning of your season what division you're in. Okay. It's not like you go through, play the season, and be like, oh, you're going to be in Division II.
Okay.
Like at the end of the season, like this example.
All right. So I was going to start with the rules are the rules. And we see it in the NFL. There's been some shenanigans where the NFL created a rule, you created it, and we know how to abuse it. So that's the league's problem starting there. So if them throwing a game got them into another division, you can question the sportsmanship, but there's also if that's what we're going to do, that's what we're going to do. Can't say I like it, but it's there. Like what was it a few weeks ago? There was a kickoff in the NFL. They knew there was a penalty, which pushed it. So they knew if they kicked it out of bounds, it ended up working to the advantage of the kicking team. Right.
Because it ends up being, I think, 20 or 25 yards from the spot of the kick.
Correct.
So normally you would end up getting it at like your 40-yard line or whatever. But because the kickoff was probably from the 50, rather than getting a touchback, I think if they kicked it out of bounds, it would end up at the 25. It saved them 5 yards. Is basically
right. Not much, but that's the rules, right?
But yeah,
And,
yeah.
You know, here in New England, we know Belichick and them are always about finding those little wrinkles in the rules.
Yep.
So there's that. What I disagree with and find unsportsmanlike is, okay, coach, if you're going to throw the game, you can throw the game quietly without doing what those things you said.
Right.
Just run the ball. Don't play some of your right. There's ways to do it, but that was just an obvious, you know, for what you described, just obvious snubbing of the rules. And to me, that is a little bit unsportsmanlike. Yes, it's the same outcome, but to just stand there and not snap the ball, stand there, not just run the ball, right? If you
just hand it off.
Just hand it off, right? You can just up the middle every single play. We know we're not going to score it. That's fine. And just be done with it. But to do those things, I think goes a little above and beyond. Like, it's almost like, was he trying to do something to make a statement? Because it just doesn't make sense. Because I know as a coach, I might have that thought of, okay, here's what we're going to do, but I'm not going to make it so obvious that I'm just throwing the game that way.
Right.
That's where I think the unsportsmanlike conduct comes into it. Because just like you said, run the ball, run sweeps, just do anything to not score and be okay with it. Oh, we just had a tough game. But to just outwardly, nope, we're not snapping the ball. Nope, we're back in. We'll take this. Like, that to me screams more. That's unsportsmanlike.
Right. So here's where it ends up. They play this week, November 7th. So I guess that's what, Saturday? Or no, that's Sunday. I'm surprised they're playing on a Sunday. But anyway, they play on Sunday. They will now play Central Hines Academy, who finished 5-6 on the year. So that's their first round opponent. They're going to have to go there because they don't get to host anything.
Correct.
While Washington School, who ended up getting the win by forfeit, will end up going to play Leak Academy on November 7th. Leak Academy went 8-2. So I'm going to be interested. I'm actually going to try to follow along and see how this ends up. I hope they don't win a title.
Yeah.
I hope I feel bad for the kids because I imagine the kids probably were like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. Why can't we just maybe they want to win a state title, but I don't think they wanted to throw the game the way they did.
And that's my point.
Yeah, to literally just refuse to run a play. It ended up being a forfeit is what it ended up going under because, as they said, they made a travesty of the game by refusing to run a play, which, correct. They did make a travesty of the game.
Yeah. And like I said, you could have thrown the game without being a show off, just like you said, run the ball, do things, and I question whether kids were on board with that. I guess they had to be to some respect. Like, look, we're going to lose this game, but we're going to end up in a better division. Maybe they said, okay, this sounds cool, not realizing the full implications of what was going to happen. But again, the coach, the assistants who allowed that, who decided this is how we're going to handle the game, I think that is the problem. And I'm glad at least the league said something. But I also go back to the league. And again, I don't know what their format is, but something seems odd about this Division I, Division II takes place within the framework of the season where you can drop down. That's the weird thing that I don't understand.
That's the weird thing. I mean, I guess you could look at it and say it's kind of like the NCAA tournament and the NIT, except nobody's not trying to get to the NCAA tournament, even though they have no shot at winning it.
Correct.
Nobody's trying to avoid that to say, hey, we might have a shot at winning the NIT. That's not happening. That's what this case is here. Honestly, if I'm that academy and he's been suspended, the head coach won't be able to coach. I'd fire the dude. I would have fired him. I would have fired him at halftime.
As an administrator, I agree with that because that's just not what we're going to do here.
No.
That's not how if I'm the administrator of the school, that's not how I want my teams run.
Right. You want to look, if you can win the game, go win the game. And then if you get your butt kicked the next week, so be it. Like, okay. So you couldn't win. You can't beat this, whatever this high-powered, I don't know what the name of the high-powered school is. If you can't beat them, that's fine. There's no shame in that. There's more shame in doing what you did than if you went out and got boat race 70-7 by the best team in the state the following week.
Yeah,
This is worse.
You hit it head on right there. That's it. It's the shame of it. It's worse now. And yes, it rides on his shoulders for doing it the way he did it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it could have happened with no one knowing, it could have been a questionable, like, did they only ran the ball. They never threw,
Right.
there would always be that question, but there would never be the shame of you guys really just went out and made a mockery of this.
Right. And now if they do win this Division II title, no one's going to care. Everybody will make fun of them because they're going to think, well, yeah, you won because you wanted to avoid playing real teams. So you played these other crap teams. And I don't know if the other teams are crap, but again.
Well, they did. Yeah. Based on the story, they did something to make their road to the championship easier.
Right. Right. It's not even like I would have respected it if they had said, okay, we're going to throw this game because this will put us in a different bracket and we'll get away from the team. Like we won't see that really, really good team until the finals if we get there. Okay,
yeah.
People game that stuff all the time. I mean,
right.
If you realize it or not, people be like, okay, well, we'd rather play this team. So let's throw this one or whatever it is. That's not what happened. They wanted to avoid all of the other good teams and play in this lower level, and they did it in a tragic way. Again, if it had been me, dude's fired at halftime. If he's not fired at halftime, he's certainly not coming back next year. All of them, the entire
Monday
staff.
Monday morning,
Saturday night, whenever the game was, I would have called him up and be like, by the way, you're done. Like, this is finished. And quite frankly, he should never get another coaching job anywhere again. Ever. I mean, it's absurd to go down this road. We talk about all the time about trying to teach kids like respectability and everything. I mean, we spent a whole episode talking about how they don't learn things and how it's. I cannot imagine if a coach told me to do that back. I would have been like, "What? What are we doing? Like, why not? This is stupid."
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I never played football in high school, so I don't know. I don't know how you would. I mean, I know how you would be able to throw a baseball game, but I just don't know how. Like, I don't know how if that were the case, if they were like, all right, just go up there and strike out, or everybody switch hit today, so you don't do as well. I don't know how I would have reacted. I'd been like, what are we doing? Like, this is dumb.
Well, it's the bigger question. What are you teaching them? It's one thing to tweak a play or something, like you said, the kickoff. This is what we're doing because it makes sense, right?
Right.
But to say, we are going to throw this game entirely, and we're going to do it this way.
And we're not going to run a play where you stand there and take delay of game after delay of game after delay of game.
Yeah. That shameful.
If I'd been the other coach, I would have been livid. Absolutely livid that I spent all that prep all that week, brought my kids out there, did all, and then you just, no, I'm not going to do anything. I'm sure probably about halfway through the first quarter, that other team was like, man, they said starters. Like, they're not trying to win this. Like, this is something's off here. And then to come out and like just take delay a game after, oh my God. I'm surprised there wasn't fights.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm really surprised that they're I didn't read that there was. I'm sure that would have been part of it. But yeah, I just absolutely horrible.
Yeah,
absolutely horrible. So
yeah, I agree with you. He should never coach again.
Yeah,
at all. That's not good for kids. It's just, that destroys the game. It really does. So hopefully no one will ever hire him again.
I hope not. So anyway, I wanted to get that story because this was just a brutal. When I read that, I was just like, these poor kids, because again, now they have no shot.
Yeah,
they could win it, but they have no shot of it being respected. That's all anybody's ever going to talk about for them is, oh, you're the team that quit. You're the team that made a mockery. Like, and it's not the kids' fault because they were just doing what the coach did. So in one way, they were good little soldiers as far as like taking orders. But another way, it's ruined them. Because now what? They're going to go, if they actually go out to parties or anything like that, they're just going to get made fun of.
Yeah. I don't know how as the coach, as a man, as a coach, leader of teams, that how do you justify that to yourself?
I don't know.
Right? How could you? So if you get fired from here, how do you ever walk into another job interview? Not that you could have, and just justify that, because that would be the question of, so this is what you did, and you
Right.
have to sit there and go, well, I mean, I guess the answer is going to be, well, it was just bad judgment on my part. I shouldn't have done it. But
Right.
I just don't. Your goal is to win,
Right.
and if you don't win, do the best job you can do to try to win. And that just seems,
Yeah. It's, I mean, again,
that's
he must
worse than the Black Sox.
Must have been no proof that they ever did. Well, I'm not gonna say no proof, but anyway, and he must be a decent coach. His team was 8-1.
Yeah.
So I mean, that'd be pretty good, but just brutal. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to come up with another example, and I couldn't think of one of like, oh, so I'm sure there are ones of somebody throwing a game to help their position, but not like this.
Draft order.
Not like just, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, look, tanking happens all the time. This was not tanking necessarily. This was legit, just like we refuse to play.
Yeah.
Like we're not even gonna dignify, throwing this game by playing. We're just not. They should have just got on the bus and left. This is basically what it was.
Or what would happen if they just forfeited the game from the get-go?
Right. Just like, we're not
for
playing.
whatever reason. I don't know.
Right.
They all have flu. We're going to forfeit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. At least make something up rather than this. Yes. Not great. All right. So that's going to do it. I hate to end on such a, I guess, kind of a sour note, but I saw that and I was like, we got to get to this before we get a couple episodes down the road. But we will, if I remember, we will have an update on whether they won this coming week against Heinz Academy or whatever it is. I don't know.
Oh, I look forward to that. I mean, you're gonna make me pay attention now.
Yeah, so I'll pay attention. I've never wanted more to pay attention to the Mississippi Private School Division II football playoffs than I do right now. So there you go. You got any parting words for us here, Mr. Dollarhite, before we get out?
Screws fall out all the time. The world is an imperfect place.
Wherever you go, there you are.
This concludes this episode of Gen X Men with Bill Rowland and Gary Dollarhite. Gen X Men is now off the air.